0807-202-9992. Registration is mandatory, so it's important that you contact us, or you can go online and log on to www.royalcenterforpublicspeaking.com. For those of you who prefer one-on-one coaching, you can also contact us. The dynamics of public speaking. Don't miss it.
Niger, let's do it again! Niger, let's go all out! We've won it 4 times, and we're set to bring it home again. 4 times we've brought home the trophy. 4 times we've held the world spellbound. Join the world with Star Times on October 17th to November 8th to experience the passion and excitement on and off the pitch at the Under-17 World Cup in Chile. Nigeria will compete against Croatia, USA, and host country Chile. Watch the Under-17 World Cup exclusively on Star Times and enjoy more live football action. For details, visit our website www.startimes.com.ng. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
My contract expired.
Good evening, viewers and friends out there. Have you ever heard of the phrase, guide your heart with all diligence, or out of it comes the issues of life? Well, on the 29th of September was World Heart Day 2015, and this year, emphasis was on healthy heart choices for everyone, everywhere. Indeed, what kind of choices do you make, and how do these choices affect your heart? Yes, I'm talking about your cardiac health. That is why it has become very pertinent that we discuss heart diseases in Nigeria. And whilst looking at heart diseases in Nigeria, we will pay emphasis on healthy lifestyle and living long. And of course, my guest has decided to use the Finland way to give us that all-important example, just for you to be able to know what you should do just to be able to live long lives, so that heart issues do not affect you. With me in the studio is a cardiovascular health physician. He currently serves as the executive director, if I'm not mistaken, of the Heart Foundation of Nigeria. And I'm talking of no other than Dr. Kola Kingsley Akinroye. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Thank you, Doctor.
Again, sir.
It's a pleasure. Nice to be here again.
So, heart diseases in Nigeria, indeed, a lot of people cannot tie some of the conditions to the heart. Even something like hypertension, people do not know that the heart is a very big contributory factor. So it became very pertinent that we discuss this all-important topic. But you wanted to lay emphasis on healthy lifestyle and living long, just like was the theme this year on September 29th. But you also made emphasis, healthy lifestyle and living long, the Finland way. Please, Dr. Akinroye, could you put this into perspective so that our viewers out there can get a hang of the matter?
Thank you, Doctor. It's a really great pleasure to be here. You rightly stated that the World Heart Day topic for this year was healthy heart,
Yeah.
and living long.
Yes.
We do know that heart is a very important organ in the body, and the heart is the central station that takes care of all the activities that we do. But this, in addition to this, it is affected by our lifestyles.
Okay.
And I'm also very glad that the topic we are discussing today is also living long the Finland way. Particularly, we do know that in Nigeria, heart disease, and in sub-Saharan Africans, the #1 killer disease now in the population all over is heart disease. In the adult population, we used to think about things like infectious disease like malaria, tuberculosis those days, even HIV. But since 2011, after the UN summit on specifically decided on non-communicable disease, of which heart disease is #1, we have now come to find that even those of us in developing countries are dying from heart disease, and we are suffering a lot from heart disease. But this heart disease, they are really they are preventable, and they are related to our lifestyles. What lifestyles are we talking about? We are talking about the food we eat.
Okay.
In terms of our diet,
Okay.
in terms of our nutrition, and we also know that #1 heart disease in Nigeria and in the African population is hypertension. And this is highly related also to the food we eat.
Okay.
It's more related, especially when you talk about what are the content in the food that you really want to be specific about. You want to talk about the salt in your diet. The amount of salt you take in the diet is also very, very important. The sugar you take in the diet is also very important, because they are all related to the way the body processes these ingredients and also affect the blood pressure. The other things that also we do is physical activity.
Okay.
In terms of what you can talk this about in terms of exercise. How much of exercise do you do? Because exercise too regulates the blood pressure.
True.
And we want to encourage people also to undertake exercise. How much of exercise do you need? Maybe also you can say that you need about 30 minutes of exercise daily, or even every other day. That is, if you can be able to accumulate that, that also brings down the blood pressure of the individual. We also do know that lifestyles is very important. The smoking of cigarette, tobacco is also very important agent that affects the blood pressure, affects the heart. Also in terms of also alcohol. These are sort of the lifestyles which we are talking. And we rightly stated that because we should be able to know that there are countries all over the world that have really shown that these things are possible to be done.
Okay. In terms of control,
in terms of control and prevention,
lifestyle.
and living a good lifestyle. Finland is a country in Europe. It's a very small country of about 5 million population.
Okay.
Dated back to about 35 years ago, Finland was one of the countries in the world that had the highest number of people with heart disease. And the population also reacted to say that, they cried to their government and say, why are we there from heart disease? Why are we the only one in the world? What can be done? And the government and the people of the country reacted to this positively and find out that the lifestyles of the people can be readjusted.
Okay.
And this was done in terms of the food they take, looking at the content of the amount of food they take. We have been talking about even the salt in the diet, the amount of fat in the diet. That, as we also was being used to be able to correct the amount of that heart disease in the population.
Okay, so also, Finland, we would come back to that. Finland, like you have rightly stated, was a country, just 5 million people, and together with the effort of government, they were able to bring down all the incidence of heart disease
within 30 years.
And they seem to be the ones at the forefront.
At the forefront of the world.
Well, before we come back to talk about, to itemize some of these heart diseases, you rightly mentioned hypertension, but before we come back to throw more emphasis on some of these heart diseases like hypertension and a few other heart diseases we will mention, let's even find out how much knowledge some of the respondents we spoke to out there have about heart disease and what they think.
I think it's had to do with information, really. People are just getting to know that heart-related issues are very, very big issue. And I think that majority of those suffering from heart disease related issue have always been hereditary and the lifestyle. Even for myself, I find it difficult to believe when I see people jogging on the road every day, and I ask myself, why are these people doing this? Asking people, and I said, taking a workout maybe once or twice a week is actually good for the body. And probably the issue that we are having, especially in a state like Lagos State, is because everybody is rushing to get their daily bed Nobody is actually looking at, okay, as you are rushing to leave in the morning and come back in the late, you will hardly find time to actually check common BP, check our system, check what our BP is reading. I think the issue now is that I think there should be a lot of enlightenment to let people know that, yeah, this heart-related issue, people dropping dead on the road while driving or on their way in the bus, can actually be limited if the following are taken into consideration, especially stress management. We need to at least check once or twice in a month, check our BP, then also ensure that our lifestyle, what we eat, especially salt intake, we have to be very sure that the salt we take is not much. And I think above all, we need a lot of rest.
I've heard about heart disease, but I don't know much about it.
Smoking contributes to heart disease. I think the main thing with heart disease is your lifestyle, what you eat. That is the major thing. I don't think it's hereditary. It's peculiar to men than women because the lifestyle of men they are so extreme. They go out, they smoke, they drink, and they do hazardous work, like working in the factory where there's a lot of pollution.
When you smoke too much, it's like you're taking in a bunch of smoke inside your lungs. It burns them down, and it might affect a lot of things, and it darkens your heart, because it's like you light up a paper and you're burning it and the flames are going up. So imagine you're taking in flames and you see how dark they look. Imagine you're taking flames inside your lungs and taking them. Definitely it will cause heart disease for you, to darken your heart. It can destroy it, but I don't know about dieting. In fact, I don't want to say it's a man or a woman's disease. It's everybody's disease. It depends on how you carry yourself. It depends on how you care for yourself. But I don't think but mainly it can be hereditary sometimes. Like my father, for example, didn't die of heart disease, he died of hepatitis B, and it has been hereditary right from birth.
I don't really know much about heart disease, but heart disease is something that comes from what we eat. You know, maybe smoking, like you said, smoking can cause heart disease, and some things that was not good for our health. So, and especially it's mostly for men that usually cause heart disease.
Well, you have heard what some people out there think about heart disease. Well, Dr. Akinroye, the first respondent was very apt. He seemed to have quite some in-depth knowledge about, general knowledge as it were, about heart disease. And then some others said they do not know much about it. But somehow, all of them were touching on lifestyle and living healthy.
I'm really quite impressed about the discussion which we have seen from the people within the population. And I will say this with a lot of real conviction that, you know, the Nigerian Heart Foundation has been in existence for about 25 years in this country.
Nigerian Heart Foundation, that is. And
has been concerned about even the amount of awareness that people have about heart disease, and that has been the key thing. And I can tell you that in the past 20 years, the awareness has increased.
Okay.
So I'm really, really very impressed about what the discussion, what is going on. Heart disease really, like the first discussant really mentioned, we know that there's hereditary in terms of genetics as an implication in it. That means you can inherit this from either your parents, that you have high chances of developing heart disease if one or two of your parents they have heart disease.
That's what
we do know. But we do know that in terms of causes, that is also modifiable these days.
Okay.
In terms of genetics, because the environment has a lot of interaction that has to do with whether you develop heart disease or you don't. Even if your father or your mother has got heart disease, you can modify that in terms of what your lifestyles are all about.
Okay.
That means if you have twins from the same parents, one is not exposed to negative lifestyles, and one is taking care of yourself. So you find out the one that is looking at the lifestyle may not develop even, for example, hypertension. If he's careful about the salt intake, if he's careful about doing exercise, if he's careful about not taking alcohol, if he's also very careful about watching his lifestyles. So these are exactly what we are saying. I also react with what one or two people also said there. You find out that both the heart itself is a blood vessel, and all these lifestyle which you mentioned, for example, especially physical activity, exercise, they really tell a lot or acting on the blood vessels.
Okay.
The salt we take also acting on the blood vessels itself, the alcohol which you have mentioned, and also diet. That is very, very important.
Okay, I'll get back to you, sir. Well, Nigeria, West Africa, you too can be part of the program by calling in via the number you see on your television screens. We want to hear what your experience has been about heart disease. Do you have family relatives who have hypertension? Do you have people who have suffered strokes before? What was your experience? We also want to answer some of your questions here on the studio. We are talking heart diseases in Nigeria, healthy lifestyle, and living long the Finland way. Now, Dr. Akinroye, when we talk about awareness, it would be nice for us to outline some of the heart diseases clearly before we begin to even cone down on the lifestyle. Now, you've mentioned hypertension, high blood pressure. What more about it? What more about hypertension and high blood pressure? How is it dangerous?
Well, the number one heart disease in Nigeria, I mentioned earlier on in Africa, is hypertension. And what do we mean by hypertension? The heart is a blood vessel. It's like a pump. And when it does its work, it generates pressure. And this pressure is what we measure. For an adult, for a reference point, we use above the age of 15. If your blood pressure is higher than 140/90, by definition, that is called hypertension. And there are lots of things which you can do to make sure that the blood pressure goes up. All what we have mentioned, what we have been discussing today, do affect the blood pressure. The food you take, especially the amount of salt you take in your diet, affects the blood pressure. The more salt you take, the more chances that the blood pressure will rise.
And when the blood pressure rises,
and when the blood pressure rises, is what we call hypertension. And high increase in blood pressure can damages the body. If it damages the heart, it can cause heart attack. If it damages the brain, can cause stroke. If it damages the kidney can fail. So these are the sort of things which you do not want to happen, and it is possible that you can control it. Again, too, we also do mention that exercise, physical activity, can also reduce your chances of.
Okay, Dr. Akinroye, we have a phone call. We'll come back to the topic. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Please, you can speak up louder.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening. You're welcome to Lifeline on NTA2. What's your name and where are you calling from, sir?
Okay, my name is Bamdele Ajayi and I'm calling from Alimosho in Lagos.
Okay, Mr. Bamdele Ajayi, you're welcome. Please, what's your contribution or your question?
My question is, I want to know if liver disease is the same thing as with
heart.
If liver disease is the same thing with heart disease. That's what I want to know.
Oh, so you want to find out if liver diseases and heart diseases are the same or if they have any connection, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
Thank you very much for calling into the program, Mr. Ajayi.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
So, Dr. Akinroye, you see, going back to enlightenment, people, Mr. Ajayi from Alimosho wants to find out, is liver disease the same as heart disease?
The liver is an organ in the body. The heart is an organ in the body. There are two different organs. They have two different functions in the body. The heart, we just mentioned, processes the blood that circulates all over the body. But the liver deals with the processing of the intakes that we take into the body. The food we take, they are processed through the liver before the body absorbs it.
Of course.
The diseases of the liver and diseases of the heart are quite different.
So, Mr. Ajayi, I hope you got that clear, and other viewers out there who have had the same question in their mind. Diseases of the liver and diseases of the heart are entirely different. The heart is that organ that pumps oxygenated blood to every other part of the body and then receives deoxygenated blood and pumps it straight to the lungs, where oxygen can come in contact with that blood before it goes back to the heart. Hello, we have another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. You're on to Lifeline on NTA2. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is James. I am calling from Alimosho.
Mr. James, you can go on. I think we've lost that one. I'm sorry, Mr. James. Please do try to call back. Your contribution is very important to us. So, Dr. Akinroye, you were talking about hypertension, okay, and you said hypertension is the most common heart disease. Whilst you were mentioning some of the effects of hypertension, you said if it happens in the brain, the person can come down with a stroke.
Yes.
But before we even get to that, you said if it happens in the heart, the person can come down with a heart attack. Now, a lot of people hear of heart attacks and heart attacks. What is this heart attack that people have been hearing about?
Yes, the heart itself is a pump, and it's an organ that also needs blood and oxygen, that what you said. So the heart is supplied by its own blood vessels. So while the heart is pumping out blood, it also takes blood to do its functions. When those blood vessels that are supplying the heart, either they get damaged due to the high blood pressure, or they get damaged due to too much of cholesterol, heart attack occurs.
Okay, so heart
the
attack
situation where the blood vessels of the heart itself is either damaged or their blood is what is called heart attack.
Okay, we have another phone call. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Ajegule.
Okay. We are listening to you, sir. Have we lost that one? Oh, we've lost that. Okay, Dr. Akinroye, because of time, let's talk about risk factors. So we have been talking about healthy lifestyle and living long. What are some of the things you had? So whilst we are talking risk factors, we want to now cone down on lifestyle so that we can quickly go to some of the treatment modalities and what people should know in terms of prevention of heart disease before we round up the show today.
Well, it's quite very interesting, because when we started, when you actually talk of lifestyle, you are talking of the risk factors. Risk factors are the things that you do. When you dodge in them, it makes you develop heart disease.
Okay.
And if you don't do them, you may not develop heart disease.
Okay.
For example, we have just spoken again, spoken about tobacco or smoking.
Smoking
of cigarette is a risk factor. So if you are exposed to either somebody smoke or you smoke yourself, you have high chance of developing heart disease, or your heart disease or your blood pressure gets more.
Okay, talking about smoking, sir. Sorry to cut you, but talking about smoking, there's something I'd like to clarify so that viewers out there can know. There are a group of people who say, my grandfather lived up to 70, 80, and he smoked all his life. Something must kill a man. What message do you have for such people?
It's not the same thing. The body changes, the environment are changing, and also the body system changes. We even know now from our studies these days that you don't even need to smoke yourself. Even when people smoke around you, you are imbibing the same thing as somebody who smokes, as somebody that smokes. So you now know what is called environmental tobacco smoke.
Okay, we have another caller. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for calling into the program. What's your name and where are you calling from, sir?
Yes, my name is Ibrahim, and I'm calling you from Lagos State.
Okay, thank you. We're listening to you, sir.
Okay, I just want to ask a quick question.
Okay.
Hepatitis B. Are there vaccines for hepatitis, and where can one get vaccines? Are they readily available in public hospitals?
Okay, sorry, sir. Today we are talking about heart diseases and healthy lifestyle as well as living long. Ensure to stay tuned to the program. We will get an expert that will tell us everything we need to know about hepatitis. All right, sir. So, Dr. Akinroye, you had made it clear that when we are talking about tobacco, even if somebody's grandfather lived up to 70 years smoking tobacco, they mustn't toe that line. And it's not even those who smoke directly themselves, but those who also inhale the smoke. But let's talk about prevention for heart diseases, because the time is fast spent.
Well, it's good, and that is where Finland comes in.
Yes, Finland.
I did mention to you that Finland was one of the countries in the world 30 years ago with the highest number of people with heart disease. And the way Finland went along the way of prevention.
Okay.
The population was educated, the population was aware, and they were able to curtail this, like having the policy on tobacco. You cannot just smoke anywhere. There's environment, which is what we are doing. And that is exactly what we are doing, looking back here, to be able to put emphasis on lifestyles, on how do you do this prevention. And come next week, even the Embassy of Finland in Nigeria has come up with there's going to be a meeting here in Lagos here, where the policy makers, people in government are going to participate. And also we are going to examine living long the Finland way on November 3rd in Lagos.
Oh, that's amazing.
So this is a way in which the relationship also will promote life expectancy, because you know the life expectancy I just mentioned to you is about 70 plus in Finland, where those of us in Africa, we will be lucky to cross the age of 50. So about 20 years gap between countries like that, like Finland, Sweden, which are very, very high life expectancy rate. And the only way to go is in the way of prevention. And we feel that we should be imbibe this in terms of having policy, effective policy on tobacco, effective policy on alcohol, effective policy on nutrition, which, because heart disease, they are very, very expensive, like what we just mentioned. The only way to go is by prevention, and also carrying the population along with you.
Okay.
And this is also what we are preaching in the Nigerian Heart Foundation.
Well, it's a good thing that there's going to be a meeting with Finland, since people have been able to find their way around heart diseases. It would be nice for us Nigerians to find our way around it. But Dr. Akinroye has likely said we need a policy from the government on tobacco control. We need a policy. Oh, we have that. We need to enforce policies on nutrition. But you, the viewers out there, you need to exercise quite often, as much as 30 minutes every day or every other day, just like the expert has said. I'm afraid this is the much we can take on the episode of this program. Dr. Akinroye, it's been very nice to have you. We would find another time to invite you to come and cone down on a particular heart disease, so that our viewers out there can benefit from these important topics. Until same time next week, viewers and friends out there, I want to say have another wonderful evening.
Christmas is around the corner, and NTA2, your recharge station, is at it again. Oh yes, it is the NTA2 Children's Christmas Party 2015. Kids, make sure you do not miss out on the fun activities where various schools will perform and stand a chance of winning fabulous prizes as we celebrate the reason for the season. Of course, Santa Claus will be coming to town. We have always done it, and you loved it.
Wow, you guys did well.
This time around, you will love it even more. For more information, please call 0705 079 1960 0802 334-7303 or 0705-079-1995. NTA to Children's Christmas Party 2015. Won't be told.
Hello and welcome to another interesting edition of Art and Leisure. Welcome to Art and Leisure. So nice to know you there. In a jiffy, we'll be in Benin to meet her first female broadcaster. There's so much going on here.
Yes, it's actually a very strong wood.
There are 48 national museums in Nigeria. You know, so many people spend time complaining about the bad things around. Sometimes I do, but you know what? These days, I choose to focus more on things that make me happy, things that help me to relax. That's what Art and Leisure is about.